Hey, we are live today. Anthony, I got a report that might be your last tie after months and months of tie wearing. I'm getting nervous.
Why do you say that? Because it's completely not my type of tie.
Yeah, you look fit to be tied. Let's get with it. All right, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live with Mr. Anthony over there, myself, Glenn Hausman. Anthony, so great to see you today. How's it going, man?
Where are you in New Orleans?
I am at the Royal Sonesta, New Orleans today. Or not really, but, our guest Carlos Flores, the CEO of Sonesta International Hotels Corporation, is on today. And I couldn't think of a better way to pay tribute to such a wonderful gentleman than dreaming about staying at one of his hotels, particularly in New Orleans, one of my favorite American cities.
Yeah, I love New Orleans too. We shot a couple shows down there. It's a different place than I've been to almost every major city in the country, and New Orleans like no other place.
Yeah, you got that right. Speaking about no other place, yesterday we were part of something exciting, like no other thing we've ever seen before. We got to work with Cirque Plus to launch their brand new C-Bot. Isn't that right, Anthony?
See what? C-Bot?
Yeah.
Do we have the video just to show?
Oh, yeah, here it goes. We can talk right over the video, Anthony. So let's bring that up. Check out this, Anthony.
All right, so let me do the play-by-play. So when you check out of a room, the C-Bot automatically knows, because it's tied into the property management system, that you're checked out, and it cleans the room before the housekeeper comes in and takes anything in the room that might be, give you a cold, flu, whatever it is, or God forbid, COVID, and it helps clean the room. Now the housekeeper knows it's been cleaned, and then they go in and they change the sheets and do the real cleaning as far as the scrubbing and all those things that a housekeeper normally does. When she leaves the room, the C-Bot understands that she's left the room, and now the C-Bot goes through one more time in case she missed a spot or in case she sneezed or something's in the air. So it takes care of that. Then when you seal that room is completely 100% sealed. There's nothing like it on the market. And what I love about it is it fits the room. It doesn't look like there's something that doesn't belong. And also, if it's going around the hallways, it doesn't look like it doesn't belong. And now usually these C-Bots are in when you're out and are going down the halls, when you're not around very often. It's not going to be going around and you're not going to be sprayed with this solution, although the solution is hospital grade, and it's basically very, very safe. You can get sprayed in the face with it, and it's not toxic in any way, shape, or form. And it's a game changer, and I use game changer very rarely.
Yeah, for sure. So be sure to check that out at circplus.com. And if you did not see the show yesterday, we launched this product, check it out on all of our social media channels. It's up there right now. Before we get to our guest, Carlos Flores today, Anthony, I just wanted to say I'm very excited because I actually got featured in a magazine article from the Best of New York. For some reason, they think I'm one of the best of New York. I don't know what they're thinking. I guess because so many people have left the city.
You were in Playgirl?
Oh, that's coming out in November.
Oh, look at you with your haircut. How pretty you look with your haircut.
I know. I'm actually thinking of going to get a haircut. I miss having short hair, although I do like the long hair thing as well. So, guys, check that out. Please go to bestofnewyork.com. Support those folks for going ahead and interviewing me in that article. I really, really appreciated them doing that. So thanks for showing that, Dave. I'm going to take it off now. We don't want to get too much about me because we want to talk to Carlos Flores. Isn't that right, sir?
We do. And congratulations on that article, my brother.
Thanks. Well, you get them all the time. So I figured, what the hell? I might as well put one up for myself.
Sure.
All right, here we go. Mr. Carlos Flores. Carlos Flores, CEO of Sonesta International Hotels Corporation. So great to see you. So, Carlos, I got to tell you, I know I had you on my podcast, and I went back to check the date. Turns out it was 3 years ago yesterday. So wow. It looks like we only get to talk every few years or so. It makes me very sad. But last time, Carlos, I thought it was amazing because I think you were bringing in 12 or 14 properties to the ES Suite families at once. That's hardly anything. Now you're incorporating 103 properties all at once right now. How insane is that?
Yeah, you definitely. Well, good to see you again. Before we go on to me, I just want to comment. I think your hair looks great. I think I think it looks good long.
Thank you.
It's great talking to you again.
Anthony's hair?
I'm staying away from that one. That's a dangerous one. But I do always love the ties. Always impressed. Always nice knot from you, Anthony. Very impressive. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Thrilled to be back on. Tons of energy, and always love the time I get the chance to listen to you, and love the conversation. I can't believe it was 3 years ago. That's unbelievable. Right. Time flies when you're having fun. And that's kind of what we've been doing here at Sonesta. Super exciting. It's been an exciting ride throughout. I joined the company back in 2012 and been running or having fun the whole time. This most recent news, as you noted, we've got a few hotels that are currently in transition right now. Tomorrow we'll be welcoming a new hotel into Atlanta, and then 3 other hotels right behind it, 2 in Dallas, and then another one in Florham Park, New Jersey, which is kind of an appetizer for the fall as we prepare for our big news, which is the preparation to take over 103 hotels this year, which is meteoric for us and super exciting.
And where are you taking them over from? What portfolio? Is there one portfolio or?
Yeah, our capital partnership with Service Properties Trust, which is our related REIT and now minority owner in Sonesta, as a result of a deal we made with them right at the end of 2019, early in 2020. They are the owner. They currently own all the hotels. They're currently operated by another operator. I'll keep their name out of the news, so to speak. But we're thrilled to be welcoming them into the Sonesta portfolio. It's a mix of extended stay and full service hotels, 22 full service hotels. I don't need to be dodgy about who they're coming out of the IHG portfolio.
Carlos, there's no reason to say anything negative about that. We like to keep things positive here.
But do you think it's not about negative or positive, but do you think that that's going to be a trend going forward where these big portfolios are going to get away from the major brands?
Well, it's a hot topic. Certainly, we're dealing with unprecedented times. Everybody's really kind of reevaluating and questioning, kind of well-seated norms in many regards that have been driving the industry for many years. This whole brand independent question is, this move by SVC. Unfortunately, we've had the confidence to actually be the recipient of this 103 hotels. It's, we're not the only story out there. Probably the bigger poster child is what's going over in the UK with Travelodge and them moving. That's probably the one that's gotten even more attention. But certainly, I think that the power of the brand, the value of a brand is something that I think all owners are really kind of contemplating. And as a owner of a brand myself, I'm certainly not going to toss the value that's provided by being a part of a large distribution chain and the convenience that comes along with partnering with somebody that's got power in the market. So I think it's going to be paramount on us who are providing the value to those owners to really prove our worth and carve out a good place, a strong place within the market.
You just said something that's really critical. You said the power in the market. The brand has the power within the market. Mm-hmm. And really, when you look down and just let's break it down, and the elephant in the room is always the third parties and what's the value of the brand, and it's coming through your system where you're getting a benefit of that because they're your loyal members, and it's a cost to that, and it's a cost to the third parties if it comes through your system, even though you give it to me for free for advertising, but then you charge me a bigger percentage. So we all know that this storm has been out on the horizon for a while, and now it's hit shore. So how do you? Because one of the things, my favorite thing when I was running hotels for owners, and a brand would say, "Well, backyard sales." Well, backyard sales is understood. That's why I have a salesperson on property. So don't tell me because you're not doing your job and I keep getting third party reservations and I don't see any groups or I don't see any conventions and I don't see any corporate being, signed, and you're telling me backyard sales. So when you're saying the power of the brand, because of the internet, because of the intelligence of our traveler, whereas, a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, they didn't really understand. They didn't understand how the reservations were made. They're a lot more savvy today. So how does the brand keep that power?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to relationships. One of the things I think the industry does not do as well, we talk about loyalty programs in kind of an upside down fashion. The primary focus of those dialogue is, obviously the size of the programs. But the primary vehicle or the bond between the end consumer and that brand has a lot to do with the commodity, which I think is completely upside down. Should be what's driving the actual loyalty, which is the overall experience, the relationship, our ability to cater to that individual's preferences and needs, instead of the actual commodity of, okay, here's points and we're going to allow you to convert business travel or other travel to subsidize your personal or leisure travel, which is clearly part of the equation, but it really misses the primary, it abandons the real definition of the word loyalty, which is how can a brand develop their service offerings to be in alignment with, frankly, which is evolving consumer tastes and staying ahead of everything as it relates to emerging technologies and expectations of the end consumer. That's where I think that your economies of scales and your ability, you said, you nailed it on the head when you're saying, backyard sales are poker stakes. It's really what you come in on top of that and saying, how are we going to take the product and the overall experience to the next level by leveraging years of experience, the best practices associated that have developed along those lines and across a very diverse portfolio, but also the ability to service those needs at multiple locations. Whereas as an independent, it becomes a little bit more challenging to essentially say, I love you, but I can only do business with you when I'm in this specific location where my travel needs are specific to this one location, which is a great opportunity, given what Sonesta is currently in the midst of, which is I'm going to be able to replicate that service experience over and over again. We're adding 103, well, actually 107 hotels all in this fall. So I'm going to be able to replicate that service offering over and over again. Much more so than we were before, given the growth of our distribution.
So let me ask you this question then. Yep. We focus a lot on loyalty. All the major brands talk and they brag about how many members they have in their loyalty program. But one of the things that I can't seem to get an answer about is if everybody, and I know it seems like everybody is in every single loyalty program. So if you're really in every single loyalty program, is there real loyalty there? And if not, then how are you really, as you just said, going to meet the actual needs of customers to get them to keep Sonesta hotels, either the ES Suites or the Royal Sonesta or any of the other brands, on top of mind?
Yeah, I think your point is kind of backing up what the whole position is that it just really isn't loyalty. It's an exchange. It's a commercial exercise, right? Here's something for you to come to me versus perhaps somebody else, but it isn't really motivating all that much. It does have power and weight, so I think it's paramount on us, the brands, or even the hoteliers. Even this goes down even to the independent, which is how do you actually cultivate that loyalty, or how does that come? Is doing a great job at the core basics, right? Clean place, safe to be, away from your home, and then everything else that comes along with it in terms of having the best amenities, the right amenities, I should probably even say, and making sure that you've got passionate, engaged people really driving that overall service experience and making them feel special. I think that's what drives loyalty.
I think when you look at your wallet and you see all these loyalty cards, the one you're going to pull out if you're going to New York or Chicago is the person that you remember at the front desk or housekeeping or the general manager. And I think there should be loyalty programs for employees. They should be incentivized. They should be, there should be they should be loyalty program card members, and there should be a loyalty program for employees. Every hotel I've ever worked in, I've always had a loyalty program, not only based on attendance, not only based on years of service, not only based on common cards, but based on how other employees interact with them, how what they've done to improve their education, what they've done to increase whatever their charge is, whether it's they save money or they increase money, whether they did the best incentive programs at the front desk, meaning did they sell that suite for $50 more on a Sunday night that couldn't be sold, and they get a percentage of that. How they so you look at the whole person, and they should be carrying a loyalty card.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're talking about the real importance, right? One, it's wise business to acknowledge, particularly those in the management side of the equation, but it couples with brand too, which is the primary way that we're really driving value within the marketplace is through the people. Is that there are things that I can do from our corporate offices here in Boston that help improve the experience by lessening the burden at the hotel level to do everything that really makes a difference, that drives loyalty. It's, as you pointed out, what is that warm, welcoming smile at the front desk? How is that person leveraging the job, not just to the benefits of their employer, but the person on the other side of the desk, and doing it for everybody within the community too. That's really, so it's a wise investment to focus on. You referred to it as a loyalty program for the employees. It's really acknowledging this very important. I know that my marketing guys hate me when I refer to this, but it's asset. It's a very important asset to the businesses of these people, and you have to be wise to be very, very thoughtful in how you manage that asset. So putting in more layman's terms, like, I'm a people person, so it kind of comes natural to me. And Glenn, I think this was core to our discussion like 3 years ago, which is the legacy of Sonesta. So when I joined in 2012, they had a very employee-centric philosophy, and all the employees of a much smaller hotel company at that point in time. I was fortunate to step into that culture, and we've continued to cultivate it, not just from a philosophical lens, but how do we deliver against that as an employer? Like, how do we think about making sure that we're doing everything that we need to do, driving backyard sales, turning over the house every day, driving the business. I think that it's also important to think about, how do we cultivate that talent? How are we setting up the environment such that each individual can succeed? And we're providing them things like training opportunities, development opportunities, putting them in this situation that oftentimes we don't even think about overtly ourselves, but being on a task force and dealing with conversions, it's a really exciting experience for anybody that's been a part of a transition. They're painful, but they're a lot of fun, and they're extremely developmental. So that is part of our kind of our DNA that I'm really, really proud of. And it's great that it maps to the core business. And as you put about, developing that loyalty card for our employer. Employee, excuse me.
And it says real loyalty. Adele says real loyalty comes from the guest experience. Honestly, I really think I understand that, and that's true. That makes perfect sense. But real loyalty comes from the employee experience. If the employee has a great experience and they run to work, if I have 100 employees and 100 of them running to work, I guarantee you I have the best hotel in the city. I bet you can't beat me. I bet you can't beat me in RevPAR. I bet you can't beat me in customer service. I bet you my hotel is going to sell more than your hotel, guaranteed, 100%. Happens every single time. Anytime I run a hotel and we turn it around, we always win because we have 100 people running in the same direction, and we focus on that. So it's great to hear that that's kind of your focus. And again, they are an asset. Like, if you left your job tomorrow, you're an asset to the company. You leave, that asset changes, your company changes. Everything changes. And then what happens? We've got to make sure it's better, or at least at the same level than you provided. And people have just in every business forgot that the person behind the counter and cleaning the toilet bowls, are the asset. The building is a building. Yep. When it's built, it's built. That building behind Glenn was built, 80 years ago? I don't know. How long ago?
It's actually they've done a
1960s?
really good at 80s, I think. Excuse me, not the
60s?
60s. Excuse me.
Yeah, somebody I'm trying to find that comment here. Somebody's father helped open that property. I'm sorry that I don't see it popping up here right now. I hope to. There we go. My father opened the Royal Sonesta Bourbon Street and ran the Royal Orleans in the 60s. How cool is that?
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So tell us any good stories as we're talking. If you have any good stories, type them in. But you walk into that building in the 60s, it has a feel because of the personality of his father, the personality of the employees. That you go in today, it could have a completely different feel. It could have a cookie cutter feel, like it doesn't, nothing means anything. So your employees are your biggest ambassadors. Correct.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I want to.
Every day I come to work for my boss, Glenn, and I try to make him look good. So I'm an asset if I do my job.
Sorry, because you know how much smoother this is going than our last conversation, Carlos, all because of Anthony. But Carlos, we talk a lot about loyalty, and we always talk about guests being loyal to brands and maybe brands being loyal to guests. But what about corporations being loyal to the franchisees? That seems to be the big issue that we seem to be hearing a lot about today. There's a lot of crabby people out there right now that are hotel owners. How can you repair the bonds that are breaking between owners and brands out there? What's your strategy?
Well, you know what? I don't know if one thing is not doing stupid shit. I think I think that's the one thing that story after story about. I hear the brands really stubbing their toes in their relationships with their owners because they're doing things. They're too committed to try and paint with one brush in every single situation. Now, I get it. You know, you're trying to build a brand. You're trying to have a consistent experience. You're trying not to dilute that which you're creating with the market. You can't let that, trump prudence, or business logic. If it really doesn't make sense for a particular asset, you really need to ask yourself, and you got to have the, acuity to figure out that which makes sense for a specific asset in a specific market, particular when it's got a real strong capital component associated with it. Why are you doing what you're doing? Or if it's fundamentally changing the operating model for that asset, why are you doing exactly that? I think that's the big issue, which is, perhaps it's scale. They can't do that curated approach to asset management at scale, like maybe a smaller provider might be able to do. Perhaps it's hubris. It's really hard to say when you hear some of these stories.
It might it just might be a combination of things as well. So, but Carlos, you're fortunate. You don't have thousands of hotels, so you have less issues that you have to deal with. Does it concern you that over time, as you grow and maybe as you bring in this portfolio of properties, it's going to be more challenging to create unique solutions for each individual owner, as opposed to what some of the major brands have been forced to do, which is kind of try not to make exceptions, because once they start making exceptions, then everybody wants an exception.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is a challenge for tomorrow. Fortunately, as you pointed out, I'm not taxed with a lot of that. We have one of our biggest competitive advantages. We got agility in the market because we have a very close relationship with our primary capital partner. So I don't have to, get a large advisory council all rowing in the same direction just to do something like change the drapes. That's a very small population. Tomorrow's problem will be, hopefully I will have that challenge, and our ability to rise up and not make stupid decisions like the ones that I just mentioned before is starting about building that competency today and baking it into the culture. Like, how do we design to that? How do we start when we start to deal with an expanding population of ownerships that have different investment theses they're trying to execute against, and philosophies and everything? How do we design our process so at the very least we're opening up an efficient, robust communications channel so they understand why we're making decisions? And certainly we got to make sure that when we're making proposals that have a very impactful, are very impactful to the asset from an operations or a capital investment perspective, it's been thought out. Otherwise, we're gonna be doomed to the same pitfalls.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I everything you just said, I think, is exactly why you've been as successful as you've been. Obviously, if you're sitting in that chair, your chair or another chair, and you're in charge of a brand, when you put on your little Post-it and you said owner relationships matter, and you have a regional, and you have a director of operations within your company, and they understand with their little Post-it, owner relationships matter. When they stop trying to hide crap from owners, when they stop trying to tell them things that are really unnecessary, like you said, cookie cutter approach, when 90% of your day is really concentrating on the owner to really make them feel special, not just in a conference, shaking hands. Oh, good to see you. Let's have a drink. Let's talk about our kids. Oh, great. All right. Thank you. You're going to buy another hotel from us? All right, great. But real relationships, real, like on their birthdays or, once a month, just, hey, how you doing? That is missing and that is lost. When a big boss really is in the weeds with the owners, you see the difference. When I'm at a AHOA conference and I'm talking to all these AHOA members and you hear them talking about Krishna Setter or Arnie Sorensen, it's like they call me, they see me, they stop, they know my kid's name. Like they're really like those are, and I'm sure you do that. And that's really how it's built. And when people, I think they just want to be big. They just want to be bigger and they just want to have more. And instead of really understanding that these people are just small mom and pop business people, I think that's how you do it. And unfortunately, it's now that it's all coming to a head, people remember those that did it.
Yeah, and you're right on. I mean, I tell my team often that we're really in the relationship business. Mm-hmm. I think it's right. All those things, those softer touch that builds the relationship, really the confidence and the trust are all very, very critical components to making sure that you're cultivating strong relationships. You're a custodian of those assets. You engender the trust because of what you do and how you do it, right? We're competent. We're looking after the assets. We're thinking ahead. We're giving you sound advice and counsel on how to best manage and expose the value that we bring as a brand or manager. And then it's really how do we make sure that relationship, all those key stakeholder relationships within the business are well tended to.
Yeah, I want to go back to your comment because it's very rare that you have a CEO of your level saying a great quote that I will remember for the rest of my life. But let's break that down for the younger generation coming up. Don't do stupid shit. Now, it's such a simple quote.
I sense that's going to be Anthony's big quote he's going to put up on LinkedIn today.
I already did. I already asked on Facebook. I already put the quote. But don't do that. Sounds so funny, and it sounds like that's just off the cuff. But that is the essence of life. Mm-hmm. Don't do stupid shit. Now, how do you get a general manager or president of a company not to do stupid shit? It's and what does that mean? It's like, well, if you feel bad in the morning. Well, you didn't sleep because you went to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's stupid. Well, you didn't eat all day, so you have a headache. Well, that's stupid. Well, you gained 50 pounds because you keep going to McDonald's every day. Well, that's kind of like those things all tie into your program as a business leader. Those little things that you don't think means anything, like coming in late 5 minutes or blowing an employee off. To me, that is the essence of stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it. You throw another analogy. You didn't prep for the meeting. You weren't ready for it. You walk into the room, and that's really impactful if you happen to be the leader of many people. What's that doing to your culture as well? That's really stupid.
Yeah, and I think it's critical. Yesterday we were on set with my friend Glenn and I. And like I come on and Glenn does a great job getting the guests, and I come on and we're really good at just kind of having a conversation. We don't really prep very much. Yesterday we needed to prep a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that personality of me having to prep to be on the show to hit a mark is different than my personality like now. I'm a little freer and a little less tight. When I'm hitting my mark, you got to be prepared. piss poor preparation leads to piss poor performance.
Right.
And that's stupid shit to me. Like not going into a meeting, especially a meeting that will move your career forward, and not being ridiculously prepared is the essence of not
Right.
smart.
Well, for the record, I like this Anthony a lot more than yesterday, Anthony, in case anybody's interested.
You know, most people do. Most people don't like producer Anthony.
No, yeah. The only people that should fear producer Anthony are people that don't got it together and don't have solutions at the ready. I find it amazing, Carlos, that people don't prepare all the time, that they don't take the extra effort to be ready and anticipate things that might come up in meetings. What's your philosophy to be able to make sure that you are ready all of the time and don't just take the easy way out and say, yeah, I'm good enough?
No, I mean, part of it, I think that I exhaust my staff sometimes because just the way I'm not just wound.
Right.
I love the details, my philosophy, perhaps it has a lot to do with my actual temperament, but I do believe there's a level of insight that comes from intimacy that can only be derived by getting into the details. Mm-hmm. It kind of rubs me the wrong way when I hear people say things like, don't sweat the little things. Because when you start rounding the corners and that becomes, a habit, that becomes an established norm and becomes your primary mode of operation, that's when things really start going bad. So, maybe the little stuff doesn't really all matter all that much, but the acknowledgement that the little stuff can lead to big things is very, very important. So philosophically, I just try and keep as plugged in as I can. Now, my big challenge is you can't do that day in and day out, right? Particularly with the growth that we've been going on, and so I've got to leverage down. So I've got to, substitute some of the things that I have been personally doing through earlier in my career, and making sure that some of that approach, that philosophy, is adopted by others within the organization, and I am relying on them to sweat the little things on my behalf. And if that is part of our culture, it's not about, a gotcha culture, which I think that a lot of people try to drive value within their organization by, I gotcha, you did something wrong, which is, let's be excited about the fact that we're trying to do something that's a little crazy. This is a very competitive market, a very saturated market. The end consumer isn't necessarily looking for more brands. They may be looking for something different, but not necessarily having more choices is something that they're necessarily looking for.
Well, yeah, because then you get into that paradox of choice. When we have too many choices, it really paralyzes all of us, and we can't make decisions as good consumers.
I think what most people are looking for is the unexpected detail. I know it's part of my brand, the unexpected detail. And I have a quote that says, don't worry about the small stuff. Obsess over the small stuff.
Right.
The small stuff.
Absolutely.
Everything. Because what in our industry, right? Let's just, strip it down. What's the small stuff in our industry? It's the big stuff. You come in, long day, the person at the front desk was fine, you got your key, everything was fine, the room's clean, it's fine, everything's fine, right? I'm not even thinking about the room, I'm just exhausted. We've all been there when we're on the road, we have an early morning meeting, we take off our clothes, we take a shower, we hit bed, and we don't even know what city we're in. And then you see a hair on the pillow. Done. Conversation over. You're so tired, you go to sleep and throw the hair off the pillow, but you remember it in the morning. And so the small stuff, the thing that the housekeeper was cleaning 18 rooms, not our fault, that 18 rooms is a lot, man. That small stuff is just ruined the entire experience.
Yeah.
All the money into loyalty. All the money.
I agree. One of the things that we've always said, and I've been saying for many, many years, either on air or on stage, is that all the hotel companies and all the hotel owners do 98% stuff absolutely amazing. It's those little tiny details that really make the difference in your ability to resonate with customers and ownership.
I think, Carlos, I'd like to get your opinion on this, and it's a little bit of a difficult question. I think in this industry, ego has been a big problem. I've seen a lot of executives, and I'm not going to say the vast majority, but I'd say a lot of executives that just have tremendous egos. And I really think that has been detrimental to the employee and to the owner of the property, because they're so involved in the status of their career, of getting to the next level and to get the next paycheck and get. I went through it with when I first got on TV with my agent, and I was very clear. I don't have that agent anymore. And it was very clear to me that the status and location of his office, the size of his office and the location of his office, was really important to him. I remember being on, at this point, maybe 3 seasons, and it was a pretty big show at that point. And I remember going in his office and his boss come in, and his boss didn't really know who I was, but they knew Andrew Zimmer and they knew Guy Fieri, but he didn't really know who I was. And I felt like that little kid that didn't get picked for the softball team.
Oh, so you felt like me.
Instead of saying, "Hey, this guy's up and coming. He's got a good show. He was a hotel manager, and now he's got the show that people are talking about in the industry." They literally, like, he left, went to his boss's office, came back, and his boss didn't acknowledge me, and he didn't acknowledge that his boss wasn't familiar with me, and we got to make that better. He was just interested in his boss's bigger office, and instead of he had Johnny Walker Black in his office, his boss had Johnny Walker Blue. That, to me, I never forgot that. And it wasn't too long ago. It was maybe 8 years ago. I never forgot that, because I think in our industry, I've seen that as well.
Yeah. Look, disclaimer, you got to have a certain amount of confidence to kind of lead a growing organization.
You got to balance it without going to hubris.
Oh, listen,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was just a disclaimer. I couldn't agree with you more, Anthony. I think that's a real problem. In fact, there's a book written called Givers and Takers out there that has a really interesting chapter of a study that actually looked at the annual reports of many publicly traded companies, and they evaluated the size of the photo of the leader in those annual reports relative to the feelings, the engagement of those cultures. And they show a direct correlation, negative correlation, the size of the photo in terms of how the employees felt about the organization. Wonderful book, interesting about the types of people.
I love that they were even smart enough to think about analyzing something.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I certainly wouldn't have thought about it, but it's a really important part.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Listen, no one would ever say I don't have an ego. We all have egos. I have an ego. Yeah. Now, there are moments where I got to take that ego, put it on the desk, and everyone has got to be around that ego and pay attention to that ego, because that ego's in charge right now. I don't care about your opinion. I don't care about anybody's opinion. We've got a problem, and you're going to listen to me. And if you're not, you're probably not going to be on the team tomorrow. That comes out very rarely, but when it does, it is critical. But most of the time, the owners or the executives, you've got to check your ego. So you still got it, but it's got to be put away. When you take it out, the employees around you, your owners, everyone around you wants that on the table. That's why you're in the big chair. You're in the big chair because you got the biggest ego. You know what's going on. But that's a healthy ego. That is not an ego to destroy. And it is not an ego for self-preservation. It's not an ego for getting more things. It's not an ego to get promoted. When I pull that out, I'm never thinking about me. I'm thinking about we're about to destroy our team here, and I'm the one who's going to kick all the ass in the room. And if I get fired for it, fine. That is a healthy ego. I'm talking about I want the Johnny Walker Blue, I want the bigger office, and the employees suffer from that. I remember there was a guy, and I won't talk about him. He's in jail now for tax evasion, millions and millions of dollars. And I walk into the lobby of this hotel in New York. I won't talk about it. And I went to the owner, and the owner said, well, you have to talk to the president. The president, you're going to work for him. I was like, I don't really want to work for anybody but the owner my whole career. And I was only maybe 34 at the time. I was like, I've only worked for owners. I don't want to work for anyone else but you. You're going to hire me. I can't work for anybody else. And plus, you want me to run 2 hotels. I want to run your whole portfolio of 16. Remember, 34 years old. So, yeah, I had an ego. And I said, I can't work for that guy. He's like, you haven't met him. I was like, but he has BMW in the front. He was asking a bellman to clean it, and he was flirting with the front desk clerk. I was downstairs an hour waiting for you. I was like, I can't work for that guy. That guy's an asshole. And I literally said that. I'll never forget it as long as I live. So they start laughing. He gets his brother. They start laughing. I said, listen, they made me interview with the guy. I interviewed with the guy exactly how I felt he was. I didn't take the job. 4 years later, my good friend, you know him if I say his name, calls me up on the road, and he texted me. I walk up from wherever the hell I was, and he said, "Did you hear about so and so? He's in jail." And I was like, "Of course he is. He's in jail." Because his ego was so big, he thought he was more important than everyone, and he needed to make the more money. He embezzled like $30 million from the company.
Wow.
So I saw that ego so on fire in that lobby. As a young manager, I knew that was just destruction waiting to happen, because his ego wasn't like he was worrying about the guest. He was worrying about the employee, and maybe he was a little heated. Maybe he was a little intense, which we all tend to get if you care about the right things. He was worried about flirting and worried about the car. And then, so when he got nailed for embezzlement, I wasn't shocked at all. As a matter of fact, I was surprised it took so long.
What a story.
Sorry, didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, I'll take that tangent. I had one boss early on in my career when I was writing for a trade magazine that told me, "I hope you understand, if you take this job, if you write for a trade magazine, you'll never, ever be able to write for any other magazine ever again as long as you live." I don't know what that was. I don't know what he was all about, but he had this huge ego, and then he also wound up in jail for embezzlement. I knew he was bad news. Carlos, you know any people that embezzled money and got put away?
Fortunately, not firsthand. Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah, I mean, ego is dangerous, right? It's different than the authority that you're supposed to yield in your position. And I just think about it. I got 2 kids, and I think about what I want for them, and I think it ports over to the business environment too, right? I want them to be confident. I want them to be happy. I want them to be productive. But more than anything, I want them to be good people. Like there's enough of, I already dropped one expletive, might as well double down on it. There's plenty of assholes in the world. I don't definitely need to add 2 more. Right. And fortunately, I have 2 wonderful kids that seem to be, regardless of my competency as a parent, are far away from falling a risk into that trap. And that relates to all myself, how I manage myself within the environment, and how I ask all my leaders, my expectations of those leaders and the employees, right? You'll feel that as you walk into the hotels. If that's all right, if the culture allows for that, is permissive of that not having good humans, you're going to pay for it.
It's funny when you say when we put our children out there, it's like we don't need any more of those a-holes, as you say. And I remember there was an intervention when they were about 16, 17. I have twins that are now 21 and my baby's 18. And there was an intervention when they were all kind of getting a little bit older in their teen years. And they were at a restaurant and they're like, "Dad, we got to talk to you." And it was a lot more aggressive than that. You don't have to tell us to say thank you. Like, we do it all the time. Do not tell us in front of the waiter to say thank you. We're not 3 years old anymore. And when you're at a table with my family, like, the thank yous are ridiculous because they know that's a pet peeve with me. It's like my kids are saying thank you like constantly. And I know it's a little thing, but it really isn't a little thing. It's a big thing because and it's not a thank you like this is the thank you I hate. Thank you. It's that looking in the eye, thank you. And to me, a little thing, you're putting good people out there when people can literally look other people. And I always tell them that waiter or that waitress is probably working 2 or 3 jobs, unless they're working in Nobu on West 57th Street. Then they probably own a really nice car and a really nice condo on Fifth Avenue. But most waiters and waitresses, service industry, working maybe 2 jobs. And it's critical. That's where it comes from. It comes from how you handle yourself. Talking about handling yourself, what's the deal with your skateboard accident?
Well, I've been a skateboarder for years and years. My son, who's 14, has picked up the sport, and the ollie. For those who are skateboarders, know that the ollie is the critical component. And so I've been working with him on getting his ollie up so he can do more tricks. I don't skateboard all that frequently, mainly because of my age, but also my schedule. Right. during the quarantine here in Boston, I spent a fair amount of time with him practicing skateboarding tricks. I think I tried one probably too advanced for my years, and the most important thing, and you can check with my son on this, is I landed it. That's the most important part of this whole story. Is that I landed the trick
at work? Your ego's at work.
Yeah, and but not without hurting myself in the process.
That's amazing.
I don't skateboard. A couple times I've been on a skateboard. Actually, the last time I was on a skateboard. I don't know if you've ever done a trick where you actually hit yourself in the groin with the skateboard. That was the end. I didn't know how to wear a cup when I skateboarded.
So Anthony and I could be broadcasting live from Big Snow, the indoor ski slope, on October 7th, I think it is. So I'll be recovering from a ski injury on October 8th and beyond. I'm looking forward to that.
Actually, when we get the date down for Rockaway Hotel, they have a skateboarding park right out the block, right down the block from them.
Is there a head injury trauma center nearby for me?
No, there isn't. And that's fascinating. The city just built this beautiful skateboard park. I mean, if you're a skateboarder, you're like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's steel and concrete, and nobody's wearing a helmet. I was like, that cannot be good.
I really am still shocked of how few people wear a helmet doing what they do. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Even yesterday when we were in New York, I saw these two really, they look very active young people, probably in their 20s, and they're on these bikes flying down the avenue. I went to Katz's Deli and got a pastrami sandwich, and they were flying right past me. And I'm like, that's great, but if I opened my door, you're in a tree. And you don't have a helmet on. So yeah, anyway.
That's very serious. Why did you get pastrami and not corned beef?
No. I actually got brisket and pastrami, 2 pastrami.
Okay. All right.
And I didn't want the corned beef is not as
tackling
good.
all the big issues today.
Yeah, we are. And,
nothing but the best for you, Carlos. So No Vacancy Live.
Have you ever had a Katz's pastrami sandwich?
I have not, unfortunately. This lines when I'm in town have always scared me off. I've heard a few tricks on how to engineer it, but it's on the list.
Go now because of COVID. There's no seats inside. And yesterday I walked in. There was like 4 people in front of me. I couldn't believe it. I will tell you, I don't wait online for anything. It is absolutely. There's 2 things in New York worth waiting online for: Tafara Pizza and Katz's Deli. The only 2 things I'll wait online for. And it's not a tourist trap where it's like, oh, yeah, they are literally the best things I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah, it's on the list. I might pack a bag tonight.
Yeah. I love this conversation, but people here are asking some great questions that we'd love for you to answer, Carlos. First up, frequent watcher Daniel Dragojevic says, Carlos, glad to see part of the show. What are you most focused on during your expansion? Is it employment, F&B changes? What are the top issues that you need to consider as you go through this process?
Well, I mean, right now it's, as we scale, people is the big focus right now. We are going to, in order to kind of jump up to this next level, we need him obviously at the hotel level, but also every part of the organization from a regional and corporate and area perspective. That's where a lot of our focus is right now is that, okay, we have a recruiting need, call it a book, engaging with the market to know that we're out there. I think that's only part of the equation is that how do we onboard them and give them the curated experience and onboarding new talent to the Sonesta way of doing business like we have been over the last 8 years at scale. So really working on that and figuring out how do we introduce them. That's probably the biggest focus right now. Second to that is really kind of thinking about the retrofitting of, we've got good plumbing. We've been very internally focused because this is an eventuality that we were planning for. The method in which it came from us and the speed and the volume is maybe a little bit out of our planning. So right behind that is really kind of how do we make the necessary investment so the next opportunity that's presented to us, we got it. Right. We got it handily. So that's probably the 2 areas, which is, how do we get the right people in-house and how do we retrofit our system so we're not just investing in today, but preparing for what might come next.
So,
Which,
so your company, you're looking for talent now. There are
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
please, we got to shout that out because people.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
We really need to do that.
Sonesta.com careers. We've got many of our job listings up there. In fact,
Awesome.
there are areas of the business where there's not a necessary defined role in a specific geography, or there's so many that we've just have a what we refer to as an evergreen rec. So if you're looking for an opportunity and you're a salesperson or you're a revenue manager, and you're not necessarily wedded to a particular geography, you can go right in and engage with us there and learn all about the company too, about what we're about, and reach out. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Sonesta.com careers.
Awesome.
Listen,
So
you think you're on a 2-bit show here, man? We're our producers are in the background producing.
yeah,
That's great. It scrolls even.
I know. We're very proud of that. So we've been talking a lot about domestic, but viewer Michael Weinberg is curious about any international expansion plans.
Yeah, well, it's everything kind of get hit and pause in the entire globe, but we have great operating partnerships and ownerships down in South America that we've been working on to cultivate, and I think we'll be seeing some more Sonesta down in that part of the woods. I'm very interested in extending our Latin American footprint through our franchise partnerships. Hopefully, moving into we've got several properties in Colombia and Peru. I'd like to see more up in Mexico and Guatemala, and I think there's lots of opportunities for us to grow there, as well as the Caribbean. Down the road, clearly within Acts 2 and 3 for Sonesta, we have international aspirations. We're not alone when we look at the 80-20 brand versus independent mix is upside down in Europe, which is very attractive.
Right.
And everybody looks at the size of Asia as the next frontier. Very difficult market, and if we're going to go into it, I want to go into it right. So that means starting to prepare for that now.
Right. I guess part of your issue is you don't want to spread yourselves too thin. You can't do too much too quickly, or else it's going to wind up spoiling all the hard work you've done over the last 8 years.
Absolutely.
Especially now where it's going to take a while to ramp up. I just heard Europe is having another, second wave.
Yeah.
The numbers are going up, and that's really, really disheartening. And it just brings everybody back to that. I think everybody's done with the ups and downs. Everybody's just like this now. It's just like we're just kind of like, okay, we don't have any more energy to be really, really angry or upset or disappointed, and we don't have that much energy to be overly exuberant. I think everybody's just like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, from a business perspective and a personal perspective, I have been really impressed with just about everybody around me, how resilient they have been.
Absolutely.
Like how they're adapting. Really, yeah. I mean, we're kind of supporting each other. This is not fun. Like this is difficult. This is hard, but everybody's still getting up every day and doing the best. And that's
my point. We're not either up or down. We're just like, hey, we just got to do it. You got to put your tie on. You got to go to work, and you got to do everything you can, because at the end of the day, this is a moment in time that's going to be in the history books, and you're going to remember. Forget about what you remember how other people acted. You're going to remember how you acted and how you responded to this. And were you proud of yourself, or did you learn something that maybe you're not built for some stresses, and did you do anything to fix that? I think that's how 20 years from now, when we're in our rocking chairs and we're looking, it's only 20 years we're in a rocking chair, and we're seeing and we're looking at this moment, and we're saying, hey, how did I handle myself?
Yeah, Carlos, in this crisis, is there something that you learned unexpected about yourself as a human being or as an executive?
Well, when you're in the midst of crisis, it's very emotional, right? But it's also very clarifying too. Like you focus in, and really everything on the periphery just kind of falls to the background. And I personally was thrilled to see how this team at Sonesta really kind of focused on what we needed to focus on. Nothing was more important. And even to this day, we're not out of this crisis, right? We're just adapting to managing it. And how the team collectively really focused on that which was mattered the most, which is the health and safety of our employees and our guests, and really focused on what we were not immune to making some very difficult decisions,
of course,
but what we were able to put into place to make them a more palatable, not just for us, but for who is impacting, and the safety measures that and the commitment that the team had to making sure that we were doing the best that we absolutely could with the information at our ready, which was frankly very moving and still continues to be a moving target to this day. I was just really impressed with the depth of conviction and passion people had about just that simple. It's not a corporate program. People did it because of who they are. Like, I'm going to make sure that my employees and our guests are safe. And we may not have done this before, but we'll do the best job we can. And that's what has impressed me the most. And the ability to just kind of be out in front and just making sure that I'm clearing the path for those. So I can't take ownership or authorship of what we were able to do to make sure that we provided for that necessity for our employees and guests. But back to your point, question, which is, I think it's those around me, and just, if I was going to say anything, we hired right. Because there was no program. Even if somebody had said to me, "Hey, we need to invest big on a global pandemic readiness program," I don't know if we would have gotten nearly as far in training in, which was a natural response because of the people that were part of the organization.
Self-preservation is the strongest training you need, right? And but I would imagine the people around you are like you. If I was reading you, I would say that you have a very, very strong filter for BS, and that so when somebody's interviewing with you, I'd imagine your radar goes off pretty quick, and when you have that, the people around you just tell you the truth. I mean, that as a leader, you need to hear the truth, and I would imagine your direct reports aren't afraid to come in and tell you bad news.
Yeah, I mean, I love the open door policy. Literally speaking, like I love that. It's probably a luxury that I'm going to have to keep in check. There may be a waning luxury at that. But I want to keep that door propped open as much as possible because I want to hear. I need to hear. I want to hear. And I think that what I don't want to hear is, as you point out, the BS. That just, there's no place for it. It doesn't help. It doesn't serve anybody well at the end of the day.
But what's a secret you can tell a young manager to get through the BS in an interview? Somebody comes in and, what are your points that are like, okay, right, let me change the subject here. And this person's just full of crap. And let me either call them on it. Do you call them on it? Because I do in my interviews, I call them straight on it. Or what is your tactic?
Yeah, I probably should do that. Sometimes I kind of run it down a little bit in the interviews if I'm feeling up to it. I think that the advice really is sincerity at the end of the day. Like, really, I think coupled with a sufficient amount of confidence of what you've been able to, don't be scared to actually be a little bit of boastful of taking pride and the accomplishments and what you think your own core competencies are. Like, I know I was part of this, and don't try and guess what the other person hears. If it's a fit, it's a fit, and you're going to find yourself in the right place if you keep to those markers. I mean, if all you're doing is trying to get the job and not thinking about the fit, and if you're representing something that is not you or is not representative of who you are, you're more likely going to find yourself in a bad situation. It could be a very bad fit for you, and that's going to end poorly every time. So have confidence, be sincere, take comfort. And, I think about the question, I think most of us, even when you're graduating in high school or in college, for certainly, they're saying, you get the question, give us your top 3 weaknesses, and they train you on how to spin that. I've never really prescribed to that advice. I thought it was silly back then, which is, sincerity coupled with, well, those are my weaknesses, but here's really what I'm good at. You got to modulate that a little bit, but the idea is really not trying to, don't BS your way through life. It's not going to serve you well.
Because at one time the checks got to clear, and if there's no money in the bank, it's going to bounce. And so it's absolutely true. I always ask the question, "What's your?" And I do it really fast. I do it this way. What's your strength? And of course, it's always in the forefront, right? And I cut them off. I literally cut them off. So, all right, great. What's your weakness? I'd say 97% of the people need to go like this. Okay. But 3% were like, this is what I really work on every day. And I'm like, boom. All right. You squared up. You knew your weakness. You were either really prepared or you're always trying to improve, because the person that knows their weakness is always trying to improve.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. So, Carlos, the wrong answer to that question is, my weakness is that I care too much. Don't say that, right?
I like people.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's like, I just can't stop working.
I say yes. I just say yes all the time. Oh my God. It's like, I just say yes all the time. People tell me I just say yes all the time. I'm like, well, we're in the yes business, so that's good.
Right. All right, Carlos, before we wrap up, we love to get to the hard-hitting news here and educate our audience. So, David, I know you got a video. I think we're going to all learn together what an ollie is at this point. If you could bring that up for us.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, very nice. Oh, good pop. Levels out. That's awesome. That is an ollie.
And that's where the skateboard went right in my groin.
All right, Dave, thanks for bringing that up for us. Carlos, any final words before we let you get back to running a big company?
Well, great, Glenn, Anthony. It's a thrill. It was fun last year, 3 years. Let's try and not make it another 3.
I hope so.
But help me with the big question, which is looking for people. So for those of you out there, hospitality industry or otherwise, looking for the right people. There's a lot of people out there. We're looking for the right people for Sonesta. So good time to reach out and see if you're a fit.
And now, because there's so much great talent out on the street, as we say, make sure you are ready to go and take Carlos's advice to heart. Promote yourself a little bit, but be humble and be ready and be focused. And because there are opportunities, people ask me every day, should I get out of this business? Like, no, you should double down on the business if you love it, because there's tremendous opportunity out there. Because, unfortunately, really good people had to leave their jobs for one reason or another, and those opportunities are there. So thank you, Carlos. It was an absolute pleasure. First time we met, and hopefully we'll see each other again in person.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Really appreciate it. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye. Wow. Again, another great show. I learned so much from him today.
You know what? Very rarely you get a guy in that position that would say that, would say, just stop doing stupid shit. And he, you can see how he doesn't think about himself, and he doesn't really, he's just a filter of just trying to move things in the right direction. And there's very little, again, everyone has an ego, but there's very little ego. It's really an ego, less about himself. And that's why he's been successful. And so all those young managers or even older managers out there, look at this interview, watch him. That's the way you show up. He's honest, he's clear, and he's free. He's a free person. However he is every day, he's just free in his thinking, and he's aware, and he's paying attention.
Yeah, which is absolutely incredible. I may have a little bit of a man crush on him too. Sorry, nothing personal, Anthony. Doesn't take away from my love for you.
Craig Morgan, I only have one man crush. And also, Brian Newman, who's Lady Gaga's band leader, and great jazz. I can't say jazz. He doesn't like jazz. Great musician. I have kind of a man crush on him too. We went out to dinner the other night. I was like, I have a man crush on him.
He does great. He does great standards, and they take modern songs and turn those into standard-like songs as well. Big shout out to Chrissy in Huntington, who's only a couple of towns over from me. So, hey, fellow Suffolkian, love to really appreciate you.
Come over to Glenn's Smokehouse and Resort.
Yes, the Houseman Resort Pool Club and Smokehouse. We're almost done for the season, but we'd love to have you. All right, so Steve Durasmo, right at the top of the show, asked a question about Cirque Plus. Is it designed to go around the entire hotel? No, it actually goes in each and every single guest room.
And when he says that, there's actually a bot in each and every guest room. So they actually stay in the room. And when the guest checks out, they do their job. If the guest wants to program it to clean it when they get it in, say they're leaving for dinner and they want it, they can program it. So each room has its own bot, and then there's one at the hotel, or 2 or 3 or 4 that the hotel has for the other
public spaces.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was really great technology. I hope you guys go check out circplus.com. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866. Of course, you got to like us on Facebook. You got to, follow us on LinkedIn, all of that regular stuff. Thank you so much for supporting us each and every day here on No Vacancy Live. Of course, we're going to be off tomorrow, but we're going to be back Monday. Anthony, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
See the commercial Cars for Kids. They have a little jingle. When you do 866, whatever you do, we should have a jingle.
Yeah, maybe we should just steal the Cars for Kids thing. How would that go?
About stealing, it gets you in jail. 30 years
yeah,
in jail.
For our newsletter to 6686. All right. I'll leave it at that. Hey, just, Carlos is a total inspiration. He's got that right attitude. He realizes he's got one life, so blaze on. So should you. And Anthony?
Be kind to yourself.